So, not talking about adjustments, but let's move to the top, to your top 10.
Sure.
So the task that you had, it was to give me the top 10 of you, de acuerdo, Ozzie Ramos. When it comes to those players, like I have seen you play, that connect the game, that organize, that help others, as you said, vocally or just with their passing, etc. And now I want to say what I kind of delayed before, that I do think, at least at the youth level and at the level I was coaching in Oregon, which it was top club level, one of the positions, but more than the positions, one of the roles more difficult to fill out, it was that player. It was very difficult to find boys at 17, 16 years old actually playing the connector, organizing and doing it vocally or just with passing. You still had players just keeping the ball and keeping the ball. So I think it's actually a very interesting thing for me, because I think there is something in the way the game is played in the US that makes it more difficult to find players like you are more. And maybe that is also one of the reasons why there are more difficulties or more complexities for you to actually being offered certain places or certain positions, right? So I want to take my own revenge, but I think it's a necessity. Is one of the beauties of the game, having players like are able to do those things. So I am looking forward to listen to your top 10, and I'm looking forward for having more guys like you playing on the field here in the States.
Thank you. And yeah, I think that it definitely has a lot to do with the culture. It has a lot to do with the culture of sports in the US. A lot of it is like, obviously the big sports, basketball, football, it's very boom, boom, boom. It's very, everything is 100 miles per hour. And even the culture of college soccer, to be fair. There's the rule that would change college soccer, in my opinion, is the substitution rule. The unlimited subs just makes it sporadic. It makes it coaches. I've been in games before where players are subbed out 2-3 times. Like there's no flow to the game. But I think a lot of players, they want to be in the important higher roles, or the players that show up on the newspaper or things like that. But I think, in my opinion, I take as much as pride in having the guys in front of me get on those newspapers and just being the guy that makes their job easier. And for me, that's if I finish 90 minutes and I recovered X amount of balls and distributed X amount of passes and purposeful passes, I think, and we get the result that we needed, I'm very happy.
The good side of that, the whole thing, is that once hopefully more teams and more coaches want to have players able to do what you are able to, you will have menos competencia.
Claro.
Because there are players like that, I tell you, and you know probably. So, but yeah, I totally agree. Vamos, to top 10, can you start from 10, 9, 8, ¿de acuerdo?
Yeah, but before I do that, I'm going to tell you, I spent like an hour and a half yesterday just thinking about this, man. And there's so many. Obviously, you said in my lifetime, so I had to exclude older retired players.
Yeah.
I was thinking, obviously, Makelele, the role is named after him. So him, the Guardiola, Keane. Keane, if you mention Keane, you have to mention Vieira, Seedorf, Arteta, Michael Essien, Yaya Toure. There's so many.
You have seen play. You are naming the ones that you haven't seen playing. You have seen playing Arteta or no?
I saw Arteta play. Arteta's. I put him in the retired section, but I saw him play with Arsenal. I saw him play with Everton, and it's fantastic.
You have loved seeing playing Guardiola, although it was too much cerebral, all cerebral.
Yeah.
But it was a beauty to have seen play.
Yeah, I watched older game of Barcelona where Pep was the orchestrator. And it's just what you said. That's just the simple passes.
Yeah, so simple.
Very simple, very simple. And I could see why the players why he brought Busquets up to the first team in 2008, 2009. Yeah. I could see that completely. And then there's other players that I didn't make my top 10, but I think they're really good. I have Fernandinho for City, his role. I think he's come back into the center back role with injuries and all that, but that just goes to show his IQ of the game. Mascherano, same thing. Yeah. Same thing, Mascherano. Henderson, what he's doing for Liverpool and England, obviously taking England to the semi-final. Liverpool, obviously, I don't really have a team, but I think Liverpool is probably one of the better teams, if not the best team right now. Let's see who else. Alcantara, I really like watching Thiago Alcantara. He's fun to watch, but he's not necessarily organizer, destroyer kind of.
He's different.
Not necessarily. He's different, yeah. And man, my list is way too long with players that I'm not going to mention, but I'm going to go straight to number 10, and he's active, Casemiro. Casemiro, I think a lot of Real Madrid's success as of late, it breaks down to Casemiro. I mean, he has Modric, he has Toni Kroos, and many other players alongside him in the midfield. But I think he's pivotal. He's pivotal, I think.
Is there anything that stands out from Casemiro in difference with other players over here? What would be that quality?
I feel like his work rate, and just the balance he gives to Madrid. I feel like Madrid is always known for having a more attacking, direct style to play. And obviously when they had guys like Ronaldo and right now with Benzema and other players that they have up top and in the midfield that want to join the attack, I think it's important to have a guy like Casemiro that brings just balance, just a guy that you know he's going to be there. You lose the ball and this guy's going to be there. Yeah. I feel like he gives a lot of comfort to the attacking players in Madrid.
Have you noticed how, at least this was one portion of the Real Madrid career, he literally will get out of the build-up. Modric and Kroos will go deep and he will just basically go like an attacking midfielder during the build-up. It's also accepting roles and knowing what you are supposed to do. It's also beautiful how that thing actually turns out. It's a complex thing. Imagine that, you know, the number 5 or number 4 or 6, whatever they call, is not talented, and you thought, okay, go away right now.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing that they are actually able to make those things happen, those changes, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and there's the fact that you brought that up. There's a player in my top 10 coming up as well that he's one of those players that he's not, or the next two actually, I think are not like, they're not very talented per se, but they're the engine. They're the engine of the team. Okay. And I'll take that to my next one. Number 9, Nigel de Jong. I think his role. Obviously, like. Yeah. You being Spanish, I'm sure you love him and the tackle he had against Xabi Alonso in the World Cup final. But guys like him, I think for teams like for the Dutch team, they had a great success in that time. I think they also AC Milan. That's a team that I watched a lot in that time, 2008 to 2012, 13. He was important. Him, and I'm gonna join him with my next one, number 8, Renato Gattuso. Players that they're not so much on the ball, but they give, like I said, they give comfort to guys in front of them. They do the simple things right, and they're willing to sacrifice their role, willing to sacrifice, I guess, partaking so much on the field and being the guy that's lights and cameras. And that's something I like about both of them.
So it's funny, the guys that will watch this and haven't seen you playing, with these 3 players, they don't have any idea of how you play right now. Casemiro,
no, definitely.
Gattuso. I love everything about Gattuso, especially. Like it's a very interesting story that I had the opportunity of watching a lot. But it's funny how the list start, which it's good because you think in many aspects of the role and all that, no? But I am imagining people just, yeah, anyway, go.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go to the next one. My next one's N'Golo Kante. I think I see him more of in an 8 role. He's a box to box a little more. Yeah. But when he's in, I feel like Chelsea before, not Sarri. Who was the guy before at Chelsea? It was Conte. Because Conte brought in, Sarri brought in Jorginho.
Yes.
Yeah, Sarri brought in Jorginho. But with Conte, he was playing more of a 6 role, more of a stay-at-home guy, and just doing simple things right. And I think something that's just makes him stand out is just he's dynamic. He's very dynamic, and he's a simple pass, and then he moves and finds the next pass. And he's very positionally aware. And that's something I really like from Conte, and the energy he brings teams. You think he's a nice guy, but in reality, you watch him play, and he'll get into some good tackles, and it's important. It's important to clean up balls, and I think that's one thing that the next guy, number 6, Michael Carrick.
Wow.
I think he did a phenomenal job for ManU.
To me, this is a surprise. Okay.
Yeah, I really wish, and I feel like because
defend him right now. Defend him, please. Argue for him.
I will, man. This guy, I think 2006 World Cup, that's probably one of the first World Cups I remember actually watching, because 2002 I was way too young. I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
Or no. I was like 5, 4 or 5. So 2006 was the first World Cup, and I obviously with the media giving England so much attention, England was the team that I kind of watched a little more. And that team had so many stars. They had Gerrard, they had Lampard, they had Rooney, you name it, Owen, so many good players. Yeah. But I think looking back, the player that could have made a big difference in that team, brought some balance, Michael Carrick. I think he only got 34 caps for the national team. He didn't play enough. And with ManU, 5 titles, it's such an important role. And I think a player that ManU brought to kind of try to emulate him from Chelsea was Nemanja Vidic. Matic, sorry. Matic. He tried to kind of emulate that Michael Carrick role, and obviously Michael Carrick's an assistant, which I'm sure helped Matic a lot. But just a guy that's not from the matches that I saw, not the fastest guy, not the biggest presence per se in games, but just such an important role in terms of just distributing it to balls like Ronaldo, Nani, guys up top, Rooney. I think he's such a pivotal role for ManU's success under Sir Alex Ferguson in those years.
Interesante.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah.
That said, I'll take it to the next guy, and I think Gattuso played a big role in his success with Milan and with the national team. Pirlo.
Sí, vale.
Yeah, Pirlo.
Dramatic
fantastic.
Change right now.
Yes.
This is a dramatic.
And it's gonna get more dramatic, I think. And I think it'll be for your good interest. You'll like the.
Oh, no. I really like the list. But now, yeah, you can play the. You said romanticism, but yeah, talk about Andrea, please.
Andrea Pirlo. It's just I was watching. What game was I watching? I was watching Juventus against Barcelona, the 2015 or 2016 Champions League final a few nights ago. And if you're just a regular fan watching the game, you're like, this guy's just jogging, he's taking the piss, he's He's not even trying. But
Yeah.
as soon as he receives the ball, like his first look is always like, how can I create a goal scoring opportunity? Almost like he's a playmaker. Like he's a deep line playmaker, and that's for me when I'm playing. I definitely try to. My first look always is like, is a forward available? Like, let's play that. If not, then let's just keep it simple. But Pirlo, like that's his like, I think that's his trademark. Just being a playmaker from deep under, and because I know he started off his career a little higher, and
Exactly, he was a number 10.
yeah,
He I think he was playing that role quite until basically Ancelotti decided to move him back and protect him,
yeah,
as you said.
yeah,
But he was a clear number 10, and he was criticized quite a bit because he doesn't score enough, he doesn't blah blah blah, and so Ancelotti just moved him back, and suddenly, oh, everything is good. So yeah, but
yeah, and I mean,
yeah.
yeah, es el cerebro, es el cerebro del equipo Pirlo. And I mean, I think it suited him well to have guys like De Rossi next to him, guys like Gattuso next to him, guys doing the more dirty work, where he is the guy creating stuff, the guy, I guess, taking charge of the ball in earlier stages of the pitch, I think.
Yeah.
And that's what I really liked about watching Pirlo.
So what you said about always looking for the higher option, that is exactly from Pep's, from Guardiola's, and from Guardiola took it from Cruyff, and Cruyff is like, if that channel is open, just put the ball in Santi Patiño's feet or in another one.
Exactly.
Yes, okay, let's move it a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I read Pirlo's book a few weeks ago, and he mentioned that he had a conversation with Guardiola, and he brought up stuff similar to what we're saying.
Yeah,
and
that's how we work. We copy everything and we try to assimilate and then put it into our personal way to express it. But yeah, that's how we work on this. Now I see you more. I see you more, Pirlo and all that. Finally. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Next one. Number 4, Paul Scholes.
Oh, yeah.
El Rubio, sí. Paul Scholes. Yes. I mean, his technical ability is, I think, second to no one. Absolutely no one. And similar to Pirlo, just his distribution. Obviously, Pirlo, I feel like, is more elegant. Just definitely more elegant. Whereas Paul Scholes he had more defensive duties. But just Paul Scholes, his ability to just be the guy, that's sitting in front of the back four, and just his ability to dish off a 40-yard long switch to a winger and just unbalance the opponents. I think that was pivotal. Again, similar to Michael Carrick in the success of Manchester United all those years. And
again, a guy that he was a number 10 as well. He was the attacking midfielder. So Paul scores and Paul scores. He will score a lot.
Exactly. No, that's another thing that he had that I really liked. He had a banger of a shot. There's a volley that comes to my mind. I'm not sure against who it was, but just there's un rebote fuera del área y de volea la agarra, boom, seco, increíble, increíble. Sí, so Paul Scholes, sí, es un jugador que, o sea, no se diga, sea muy alto o muy una presencia grande como sea Carrick, como sea Casemiro, también es más de 6 pies, o sea, y a mí me gusta ver esos jugadores, me gusta ver, porque yo, o sea, no soy un jugador que sea mido 5'9", 5'10". Yo le pongo 5'10", pero yo sé que soy 5'9", pero no pasa nada.
No hace falta que me lo expliques, yo ya sé que no eres 5'10".
Yo sé que tú sabes.
Si el balón está en el suelo la mayor parte del tiempo, es que no.
Exactly. And for me, that's like I don't care that I'm like any player. Like it
No.
doesn't matter if you're yay tall. Like,
But it's a good call that you are also looking to, players from Premier League that have played most of their careers in Premier League, because even not so much now, but 10 years ago, the Premier League was still very vertical as well. Not the ball on the net, but super vertical. So, impose it all in your physical abilities and all that. And yeah, Paul Scholes, you don't have to be Usain Bolt to play in the center of the pitch. Definitely.
Correct. And that being said, I think that's perfect. That takes me to the next one. And I feel like number 3 is the player that probably I've watched the most out of all of them. And that's probably when I was like 12 or 13 that I absolutely fell in love with how he played. And it's Xavi Hernandez. I think just his ability to just flow into spaces, come underneath and receive the ball. And I think what he's, for me, what I know him the best for is his ability to maintain possession, whether it is keeping the ball longer and waiting for something to open up. I think there's his 360 spin, like it's like but he's shielding the ball the whole time. That he's doing that. And I think things like that buy him space. He did that against Real Madrid in one of Messi's goals in the attacking third. I don't know if you remember. He receives the ball from like the right wing, and he just shoots.
In Madrid.
In Madrid, yes.
Yes.
And then he plays Messi, and I think that's when Messi he chips Casillas or something of that sort. Mm-hmm. But that's one of his signature moves. And then just in general, like just obviously not a guy that has too much of a defensive pressure,
he doesn't lose the ball enough, at all.
Exactly. And that 2008 to 2012 Barcelona, where Pep, like, they were having 70% possession in most of the games. Like, there was no need for.
And then they will recover super soon.
They recover, 6 seconds.
Pedro and company. So yeah.
Exactly. So Xavi, for me, I think, probably my favorite player, or the one I've watched the most for sure.
Awesome.
For sure. And then let's go to the second one.
Same team. Wait. To your credit, watching you a little bit as well, I see I don't know if it's a 360, but you do at least a 180 every now and then as well. When you are trying to protect the ball, you are also capable of doing those things in games. I've seen you.
Yeah, 100%. I think
it works.
So
in video
yes. I think definitely I've learned a lot from watching for sure. And I think that 2008 to 2012 Barcelona team, as well as the 2008 to 2012 Spain team, are probably if I were to say the two most influential teams on the style I want to play, and the style that maybe one day, if I decide to get into coaching, I would like to emulate. It would be those two teams for sure. And yeah, like definitely, I definitely try to take players like from those teams to bring into my style of play. I do incorporate that turn that Xavi does whenever I need to, and I think I'm fairly good. I'm fairly comfortable being in tight spaces from watching those guys play, and from not only watching them but also taking that and practicing it myself in my own time and stuff like that. Especially when I was younger, but even to this day, I think, and even right now with this break, I'm definitely taking time to use it to work on just fundamental stuff like that.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. So that takes me to number 2, and same team, Busquets. Busquets is
Busi dos, vale.
Like there's who was it? There's I think Vicente del Bosque said if you watch the entire game, you won't see Busquets, but if you watch the game through Busquets' eyes, like you'll see the entire game or something of that sort. Probably like lo estoy mochando, pero it's something along those lines, and I think it's so true. And I think Busquets is just he's a player that's like obviously he doesn't get the ball in higher up spaces like Xavi did, or like Iniesta, who's also, I mean, I didn't put him in this top 10 just because he's not necessarily the organizer, or he's not necessarily the guy coming under, but Busquets, he's that guy. He's obviously he's very composed. I think he does in the past decade for sure. I think in terms of recovering loose balls and just giving simple passes to guys like Xavi, guys like Iniesta. I think guys like Xavi, guys like Iniesta, guys like Messi, David Villa, they all depend on someone like Busquets. And yeah, I feel very strong about Busquets for sure.
How much one, I don't know if you can learn from, but just appreciate how much important is positioning in your position. Yes, right?
Yeah.
It's just all. It's not about, of course you have to run, but it's like I was talking with goalkeepers and how important is positioning for them. It's not because you are big, never. It's just having the sense, the intuition, and the position. And with Busquets, it's just, yeah, that's all for him to recover. Yes, he has a big foot, but he's slow like hell.
Exactly.
But he's gonna get there, and then clean enough to just play it again. So yeah, I don't know if it's actually like if you can teach that, but at least understand how important it is and trying to practice and get as much as you can from system, ideas, intuition. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, man. I think intuition is very important because you can't be always like thinking. It has to just be natural, you know? And that's what the best players do. It's just, a lot of it is just intuition. Messi, why is he the best? Boom. It's just intuition. But I think one of the biggest things I learned from Busquets is you don't necessarily have to be the fastest player. I think you just being positionally aware, and it's the three things. Sorry, is that good? Okay, good. Being positionally aware and just keeping in mind three things. I think the three things for me when I'm playing that are the most important: where my teammates are, where the opponent is, and where in relation to that is the ball. I think having those in mind and just being in the right positions, I think it gives you an advantage. It gives you an advantage over faster players, you know. So that's one thing that from Busquets that why I regard him so high and why he's my number two.
Yeah. Well, I have no idea who is number one, and I don't care. I am gonna accept and enjoy who is your number one in this.
Yeah. Number one, Xavi Alonso.
Wow. Okay.
Xavi Alonso.
Yeah.
No question. Absolutely no question about it.
Es compatriota, es vasco como yo. Me gusta.
Yeah.
Muy bonito.
That's why I said earlier today, you're gonna love the top three. But Xavi Alonso, without a doubt. I mean, I enjoyed watching him. I got to watch a few of the last games with Liverpool, not too much. I was too young for sure. But definitely his role in Real Madrid, his role in Bayern Munich. I love the way that Xavi Alonso plays and just his role in other teams. I've definitely heard a lot of his conversations now after his playing days and just explaining his roles at different teams. I remember he explained that his role would change depending on at Liverpool, depending if he was going to play next to Stevie G or next to Mascherano. And I think it's important. It's important to be able to distinguish your own role because I feel like for a player that's going to be organizing a team like a holding mid, it's a lot about it's a lot of sacrifice. You have to not necessarily put yourself first and not necessarily, like I said earlier, be the guy that's on the topdrawersoccer.com or whatever, whatever magazine or whatever, but just being the guy that brings balance to teams, being the guy that is going to work hard to recover the ball for teams. I think that it's important to especially when you have guys in front of you that can create. For example, in the national team, when you had guys like Iniesta, Xavi, obviously, in Madrid, Ronaldo, at Bayern, Lewandowski, Müller. I think it's important to have someone that can balance those teams, and a lot of people that watch soccer don't necessarily watch, I guess, the holding mid position, just because there's more dynamic stuff going on. There's more fun things, quote unquote fun things, to watch than the guy that's providing balance, essentially. And I think my top 10, that's one of the most important things they do for the team. They provide balance, and I think his passing range, his ability to hit every short pass connect, and every probably 8, 9 out of 10 long passes to connect. I think that's fantastic. I think passes like that, they unbalance opponents, and it puts you in positions where you can attack, the vulnerabilities of teams, and just you can find an outlet. You can find an outlet with literally one pass. Like, you don't even have to take a touch. And the primera, you can find the long switch. And I think that ability, that's super important for any holding mid.
Yeah, there was, I heard in a conversation about, I don't remember specifically the topic, but there were some people saying that nowadays, not in US, but for example in Europe, let's put Spain, because players are looking for more passes and connecting passes, there has been kind of lost the ability to launch those really long passes. Again, more thinking about Europe or Spain. And I don't really know if that's the case. I can imagine that on the training ground nowadays, you don't have many opportunities to do probably those passes during a training session. Do you work on that yourself?
Yes, definitely. I definitely work on it. Definitely 2-3 times a week, where I just try to focus on that. But definitely, I think over time, that's how it's gotten to where it's at right now.
Yeah.
But once again, I think my career is just starting off, so I have a lot to learn. I have a lot of ways to go, for sure.
Yeah. And about Xabi Alonso, and we are just about to finish and all that, but at least from my side, about Xabi Alonso, I remember actually the year. I am way older than you are, so it was 2001, almost sure. I was that year living in Italy, and I had the opportunity of watching some games from the Spanish Liga. And there is this game between Villarreal and Real Sociedad. Those two teams that year were not powerhouses, but for some reason it was available on TV. And I am by myself in a basement in an Italian residence of students watching the game, and it's the first time I watched Xabi Alonso. And that day, in the small field of Villarreal, he nailed every single pass. It was incredible. And I was just by myself looking around like, oh my God, another pass. Who is this guy? And I think I finished the conversation. I went to Italian friends just talking about him, and then trying to gather information about him. Where is this guy coming from? And he nailed every pass. And for my credit, I think in one interview among the many he has had, he recalled and he called that game as one of the games in which he felt better. He was like, this can be true. So I was like very happy to hear that, but I very vividly remember how it's possible to connect every single pass. This guy must be like 20. He was probably 20 because it's 2001.
Yeah.
And he's nailing in a small, narrow field. It's like amazing. It's like, and it's what you said, just the ability to connect short pass, deep, vertical, launching passes from 30 meters, just incredible. I just, difficult to describe. How can you have that arsenal and that talent? So I'm very happy that you that you got Xabi Alonso as your first pick. Yeah, anything else you want to throw in there before we just wrap up?
No, I think it was great. It was great chatting with you about the game and obviously my position, which I take a lot of pride in. And no, just thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having your time. Again, a lot of time. And I always, well, first, I am very happy to have the conversation and just listening from you how it's been these last couple of years also, your previous years. I get only more excited, more excited about your career and about what is about to come. I'm very happy that you have the desire to continue doing this. And I truly wish you the best. I did see you playing a little bit, and you are talented, and it's fun to watch you. This is one other thing that is not compromised. The fact that a player can bring balance, and I think you have tried to say this in your speech. The fact that you are aware, the fact that you understand that you have to give balance, that you don't want to be the guy in the newspapers, that you are humble basically. It doesn't take off the fun of the game for you and also for the player watching you. And you got that, so just keep playing the game, ¿de acuerdo? Sí. I will keep keeping track of you, ¿vale? ¿De acuerdo?
Perfecto.
Pues muchísimas
Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias a ti, Ozzie. Gracias.
Gracias.